whether, okay, is this junk? I mean, or that they're showing, is this just a parlor trick? Is there value to it? And then how does it fit into how I teach or my program or what I teach, right? And I remember having some of these discussions with him, and I think it was about our rifle program. I had redone our rifle program where I was teaching, and I think we had this conversation because actually red dot and optics were starting to become a thing on rifles, to where that was, you know, you were seeing people run rifles less and less with iron sights, right? It makes me sad to think that I'm that old, but I
Right.
know I remember when all we had was iron sights, and we were like, if it takes a battery, I'm not putting it on my rifle. But he sat me down, and instead of saying, well, that's dumb, you don't do that, or don't run the program that way. The first question he asked was, well, what kind of program do you want to run? Do you want to run a fundamentals based program, or do you want to run something else? And that term fundamentals based has kind of stuck with me, especially as I've developed other classes, and have taught them. I've always kind of kept that in the back of my head, because I consider myself a fundamentals based instructor, that everything that I teach, no matter if it's a basic level handgun class, or if it's going to be an advanced, what I might consider an advanced level class where I got some experienced people coming in. I believe it's important that what I teach is fundamentals based, right? It's based
Right.
on good fundamentals, because everything falls back to that, right?
Right.
You can't whip a pistol out of a holster and hit 6 steel targets from 10 yards without, using fundamentals. Doesn't matter how fast you do it, or what other kind of parlor tricks you do with mag flipping or anything else. If you don't use good fundamentals, you're not going to hit the target. And so when I look at um, either others programs, or I'm trying to develop something, I think it's important to keep things fundamentally based. Are we using good fundamentals? Especially when you're teaching new shooters. If you're teaching a basic level class, you need to have some basic fundamentals, and that doesn't just go with shooting fundamentals either. I think that goes with gun handling, right, as well.
Right.
The loading, unloading, reloading, and clearance stoppages and all that. Having a fundamental way that you teach that stuff, right? And then how does it work with your other weapon systems as well?
Yeah, and I think the more you can keep things the same, the better off you are as well.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that, definitely. Um,
Y-
Keeping things the same, especially if you've got returning students, right?
Right, for
So
certain.
you get if you're running your own show, and you got a client base, and you got people that it's like, okay, well, you got to come to the 100 class before you can go to the 200 class, or whatever you call them. If you can keep things the same, or or if hey, you got to have gone through my basic pistol class before I'm gonna let you come into my rifle class, and you keep some of those. Now we run into differences with the weapon systems, right? An AR has some unique features to it that don't necessarily apply to your auto pistols, but
Right.
yeah, I think if you can keep it the same, yeah.
Jason, I think one of the problems is, and you tell me what your thoughts are on this. I think people associate fundamentals with being old, and that it's unchanging. And then once you have the fundamentals, you can't push yourself. Well, you can push yourself with the fundamentals by cutting down time and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on something like that?
um yeah, well, we're Americans, so we're naturally impatient, right? um and I think as society's gone on, I think the newer generations are even more impatient, right? And especially with technology, where you can get on YouTube and you can see, John Wick shoot, or any of these other any of your competitive shooters get on there, and you're just like, man, I want to do that, and I want to do it right now. And then we're also lazy on top of that, where we don't want to put the work into it. But you just can't shortcut that stuff. You can't shortcut uh having good fundamentals. And just like you said, those fundamentals haven't changed.
Right.
And they probably won't change unless the fundamental design of firearms changes. Um, then they probably won't change. And you're always going to have an emphasis on that. And I think people that don't go back to that, right? That don't go back to, okay, I need to slow down and work on my fundamentals. And you don't do that every once in a while, then you plateau. You get to
Right.
one spot, or if you're a newer shooter, you you get frustrated, and then you don't want to do it anymore.
It's funny you mentioned John Wick. You can find clips of him on YouTube burning it down, but you don't find the clips of the thousands of hours he's put in, day
Right.
after day after day after day, running those targets, running that gun, running that weapon system. Um, I've read multiple articles that he really commits to stuff like that. And his mentor is I forget the guy's first name, but it's Terran Tactical is
Yeah.
his mentor. So
Taryn is his first name.
oh, is his first? What's the
Yeah, Taryn is his pretty. I didn't know that either. I bought some of his stuff, and I was reading his bio, and yeah, it's Taryn. I can't remember what his last name is now, but yeah, his first name's Taryn.
know that he has harped those fundamentals into Keanu Reeves for his John Wick character, which allows him to do that. And then he just pushes himself with time and with smaller targets and thing like that, just to really hone those fundamentals.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. And if you ever watch any of um Jerry Mitchell's stuff, he talks about that as well, and I've watched a couple of his little things on YouTube, about drills and stuff, and yeah, that I mean, those people they practice for hours. They do dry work, and just practice and practice to where that you got to get what's like you got to you got to do something 10,000 times before you actually become an expert, right?
Right.
Those good shooters have done it over and over and over.
Right.
And I would, if I had to guess, a lot of that work probably isn't just at the range live firing either. A lot of it's
Right.
dry work in their basement or someplace else. So
Yeah, for certain. I I don't know if you've seen this trend. What have you seen a huge trend of first time shooters?
well, yes, I just kind of got into the game of um of teaching civilians here in the last couple of years. And when I started my business, I had a lot of people that were hitting me up for lessons and want to go shooting and want to learn how to shoot and or want to buy a gun. Now that's been a huge trend over the last several years. And I think that probably has somewhat to do with the political climate, but um, I also think that people want to be responsible gun owners and they don't want to just have a gun. They actually want to learn how to shoot it. So lots of women too. Lots of women that really want to go out and learn how to shoot.
Yeah,
So
there's no greater equalizer when properly trained. Buying a baby grand piano and putting it in your living room doesn't make you a pianist.
yeah.
So um, that's kind of my thought on that. I stole that from somewhere else, but there
I
really
like
is
that.
that.
It comes from Jeff Cooper.
It does come from the
That's
Colonel.
the Jeff Cooper quote with the guitar. Just because you was it owning a guitar makes you oh no, owning a gun makes you a shooter as much as owning a guitar makes you a musician. Something like that. I probably butchered that, but yeah.
But yes, so somewhere in the same runs. Um, this took a whole different concept than my notes I wrote down, so which is always good. I think you see lots of people when they have podcasts, they want to talk about the latest and greatest, coolest thing, and that's cool. But I think it's also important to talk about the importance of training. It's an investment in yourself. You spend all this money on a high quality firearm, you need to invest some time in yourself as well.
Yeah, I would say so. Um and it doesn't matter, really what kind of pistol you shoot. You don't have to have a $3,500 staccato to to learn how to shoot well, right? Um,
Jason, I know that was a shot at me, pun intended.
no, I'm just jealous because I can't afford one.
I
Um,
couldn't I couldn't afford one either, so don't worry.
yeah, but no, that's another thing that I see is I see people, and I've seen this in professionals, in professional police officers. I've seen it in professional military and SWAT guys, where they try to buy the latest and greatest stuff to improve their shooting. When really all they need to do is up their level of training, right? To push themselves to the next level, and push themselves out of their comfort zone with, the standard Glock 17 they've already got in their holster, or, whatever. So
Well,
I
well,
think
I've
I heard that referred to one time, and this is not my quote. It was another firearms instructor. It was actually an article that I read. It was called hardware solutions for software problems, right? And so
Stolen
I
that
stole
multiple
that.
times. I've
Yeah.
stolen it as well. Yeah, but it's true. Buying the $4,000 golf clubs don't make you Tiger Woods.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so all right, Jay. Well, it's been great. Kind of coming to the end. Is there anything new out there that you're seeing that you really want to pick up and touch and hold and see if it's made an improvement?
Um, I no, I actually I want to go shoot one of those shadow systems. I know you just bought one, but I haven't shot one. Um, but I'd actually like to go shoot one of those because they're gaining a lot of popularity. I've seen more and more, actually seen more and more police departments authorize them, or I actually think there's one here locally that just bought them to issue them. So I'd like to get my hands on one to shoot one.
I own one and I carry one a lot, and I'm a big fan of them. I think they're built really well. They're built here in Texas. They have great customer service that I've found. It is the most accurate when I do all the right things, talking about fundamentals. Polymer gun I've shot, so you can take that for what it's worth. But yeah, I'm a big fan of them too, and they're not crazy expensive, and that's a good part too.
Yeah, I was noticing that. But yeah, that's one of the guns I'd like to shoot. But other than that, I know there's the technology in red dots is just like I said before. The miniature red dots is going off the charts. That's probably another show we could do to talk about red dots and what's going on with those.
You're right. That's the thing I'm excited about. I saw the email come out about the new RMR HD, top load battery, wider window, different reticle, different light sensor, but still fits the RMR footprint. I have one on order, but we'll see when that shows up. I'm super excited for those. You're right about the red dots class. Maybe we'll have to get back together and talk about that because I think, like you think, I'm sure we are just in the infancy of these things. Um, Someday it's just going to be a hologram above your gun. We're just now seeing the beginning of this for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That technology's going off the roof. So
All right. Well, Jason, I thank you for your time. Again, I'm just James at 303 Tactical. And any sponsors who are out there listening, we're always looking for sponsors at 303 Tactical to sponsor our podcasts and our written work. And Jason, go ahead and give them your contact information so they can get a hold of you at Blue Angel.
oh yeah, my name of my company is Blue Angel Concepts. I have a website, blueangelconcepts.com. It's a little bit in its infancy as well, so please excuse my website. I'm working on it, getting it up, but there is some contact information on there. If you're ever interested in, and I'm located in the southern part of our state here in Colorado, not southern part of the metro area. Um, but you can get a hold of me there. I do custom gun work as well, and gunsmithing, and I can fix things as well. So
All right. Jason, thank you for your time. This is great. A lot of fun. Pleasure talking to you again.
yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
All right.